guys, and welcome to another kit review. Okay, so today we're having a look at another kit from ICM. It is their G4, basically a Mercedes-Benz G4, 1939 production, kit number 35531 in 1/35 scale, and this one is the Vehicle Plus for passengers. Well, not exactly passengers because they don't sit in the vehicle, they are actually standing figures. The figure kit, I might add, is ICM's German staff personnel figure kit, which I believe I already have done a review of, and I will do a quick review of the figures included in this kit, just in case you didn't see the other one. Alright, so this kit came out in 2011, right? It has been reissued a couple of times since then, one as a G4 with a full cover on it, and it has also been issued by Revell. Okay, same sprues as the ICM under the Revell brand name. Okay, so there are a couple of derivations of this particular kit around at the moment. So as you can see, this is a G4 in a light grey colour scheme. This actually looks like a real car, only going by the reflections in the chrome and the headlights, but I could be wrong. If it's not, it's a very good rendition of one. Okay, so nice cover art, right? Shows off the vehicle to its best. Let's have a look at the rest of the box though. On the side, okay, brief history, telling you that an 8-cylinder engine, 100 horsepower, only 72 were made up until 1939, so they were used by the German High Command. They were not exactly great cross-country vehicles, very heavy on the petrol, so their use was restricted to second line or wherever, not necessarily front line. You won't see one of these up sitting next to a Tiger tank on the front line. Okay, so usual 14 plus warnings, ICM's distributor in Hong Kong, and on the other side, as usual for an ICM kit, 3 views of the actual kit itself. Another warning about 14 plus. Okay, fairly straightforward box art, nothing spectacular there. So let's have a look in the box. Come on, out you come. It's fighting me today. Alright, so usual ICM solid box. Alright, they do squash a bit. I don't know of any particular box that won't squash, but at least they are protected on the sides for damage. Alright, ICM instructions, and as usual, sorry guys, put that away, sorry, that went on the ground, 1 bag of sprues with everything in it. Okay, so in a second we'll have a look at the instructions and the decals, and then we'll have a look at the sprues. Okay, so let's have a look at the instructions. Standard ICM format, Ukrainian, English, brief history of the vehicle again, how many people it's at, horsepower, etc., technical specifications, maximum road speed, maximum speed 67 kilometers an hour. These pieces were quite slow, and 8-cylinder 5.5 litre engine. They would have used up a fair bit of fuel as well, although it does say the range is 500 kilometers, but 67 kilometers an hour, and that's road speed, not cross country. That's pretty slow for a large vehicle like this. Okay, so color callouts. Model Master, standard ICM, doesn't call out in any other color apart from Model Master, and you do have 12 colors in this vehicle. Okay, Not necessarily all these colors, because you will have color variations in the bodywork. All right, how to apply the decals, and usual cautions about glue and paint in a ventilated area. All right, so sprue layout: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sprues, including the clears. Okay, so fairly compact. Everything was in the one bag. The clears were in a bag by themselves inside the major bag, but that doesn't always protect them. Something you need to be aware of. Okay, so let's start building. All right, so we start off with the engine. So it's a nicely complex little bit of an engine. Does have your exhausts, manifold, etc. on it, so that's nice. All right, so if you wanted to, you could display the engine. That's a choice that you can make somewhere along the line, I guess. This is the chassis. Main chassis side are separate with fittings for toolboxes, etc. Okay, tires are obviously just 2-piece plus the hub, right, which is a shame. So we'll have a look at the tires and see how that comes out as far as tread pattern is concerned when we get to the sprues. The chassis is always a concern when it's separate like that. Getting it square can be a challenge sometimes. Okay, so both chassis sides and the engine. So obviously this creates the entire framework for everything else, so you would need to make sure that this was nicely square and glued solid. All right, so then we get to a very complex differential system and steering system. So this particular vehicle, okay, had 4-wheel drive on the back almost all the time, so it had 2 diffs. Okay, so I believe it could go 6-wheel drive. So it is quite a complex running system, highly detailed, so I like that. Nicely detailed. As you can see, the whole system goes together onto the chassis. That's why the chassis needs to be nicely square. It does have bracing at the back, etc. So something to be aware of. Exhaust pipe is made up of numerous parts. It's not one part. There are color callouts throughout this kit as well. But again, the exhaust pipe, you need to make sure that it is nicely glued and it will fit exactly where it belongs onto the engine and onto the chassis. Then you get your wheels on. All right, I would be tempted to leave the wheels off until everything was painted. Oh, what's going on here? Aha! Okay, so next we come to the actual building the cabin. So again, with the ICM kits, they have a tendency, as you can see, so this is the front windscreen, instruments. There are decals that go for the instruments, but your firewall and section, that's 3 parts. All right, so it's probably over-engineered. I'm pretty sure that in other kits they haven't gone to that extent, so I don't know why they did it on this one, but it is a little bit over-engineered. Same for the back of the vehicle. You got your boot, your inside, and the sides. That could have been made as one piece. So again, you have to be very careful and make sure that you get it nice and straight and fitted onto the floor pan, which should be okay, but you're going to need to take care. Windows, it doesn't give you an option, unfortunately. On other kits you get an option, windows up or down. On this one it looks like no option apart from the windows up, so I'd be having a careful look at that and see if you can actually leave the windows down as it shows on the cover of this box. Alright, so there's your mudguards. Front of that goes on. Alright, this is your fuel tank, etc., which goes underneath at the back, underneath, oops, sorry, my bad. Fuel tank goes underneath the boot at the back. Mudguards go on for the back wheels. Alright, so that's your body section at the moment. Then you get to the seats, and we'll have a look and see if the seats actually have a texture or whether they've just got differentiation for the cushions. Okay, doors unfortunately cannot be opened. They are simply one piece with an inside. It doesn't say here about the windows, whether they can be up or down. So again, have a careful look, dry fit, and see if you can get away with having the windows down if that's your preference. And then we get to putting the seats in, and as you can see, we have two singles. That's your front seat and that's your back seat, all going in. Doors, the sides go on, which are the doors which are not open. You cannot have them open. I think it would be a lot of work to actually open the doors on this vehicle. So, I mean, if you wanted to try, there's nothing to stop you, but I think it would be very, very difficult. Okay, so bonnet, and it looks like, yes, you can have the bonnet up. I would be checking your internet references as far as that's concerned. It shows these up and the sides there, but the sides would normally clip down. So normally the sides would come up with this section of the bonnet as well. So that's a bit iffy, and it does take a bit of work because you've got to cut down the middle to get it to fold. So that's going to be definitely an internet reference, if you can, exactly how this bonnet opens to expose the engine. Headlights, okay, running boards, spare wheels, radiator, body, and everything just gets glued straight onto the chassis. So really complex chassis and engine. Most of the time you won't even see it because it'll be covered by this large body. Folded hood, okay, so your canvas cover is folded but your windows are up, so that's why I'd be looking at leaving the windows down. Bonnet goes on, okay, and then literally she's almost finished. There is no driver figure for this. You do get a two-part steering wheel as normal with ICM. Okay, you got your sun visors, rear vision mirror, etc. going in. So a really nicely detailed interior, really nicely detailed chassis and engine. So overall, be quite an impressive kit. Alright, so let's have a look at painting. So since this was a staff car for high-ranking military in Germany, they did come in slightly different colours. Overall, this one is, let me have a look, see, on the colour chart. C being RLM 63, light grey. Okay, same again. This is all over light grey. So you've got Germany 1939 for this one. October 1939 for this one. And on the back, you've got again. Alright, so this here is overall dark grey. This is your light grey one. This just shows you where the standards go and where your vehicle markings go, etc. Right, so you do have colour call-outs for, well, either a light grey vehicle or a dark grey vehicle. And yeah, basically that's all you get. Alright, so that's the instructions. Let's have a look at the accessory kit that you get with it, which is the 4 figures Alright, so the 4 figures are actually a separate kit which came out in 2012, a year after this one. And they are German staff personnel, 1939, 1942, and the kit number is 35611, and that consists of 1 female Helferin and 2 officers, and obviously what is a driver or an aide. Okay, so this is the basic instructions for how you put them together. Again, Model Master colors, of course. As you can see, there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 colors, including standard skin tone. Because of course it's Model Master, you'll have to do your own reference your own paint manufacturer, but they're all pretty straightforward. Field grey uniform, flat white, gloss black, etc, etc. Alright, so that's the sprue layout. On the other side you have just the assembly, as you can see. So, and it just gives you color call outs for the figures, all the different colors and things, insignia, etc, side cap, badge on the arm. Alright, so fairly straightforward and fairly comprehensive. Okay, and that is the instructions for the figure kit. And let's have a look at the decals. Okay, so basic decals, as you can see, right, 3 different staff car pennants. You have 3 different registration plates for the vehicle, plus decals for the instruments, and that's it. Fairly straightforward, fairly simple markings for this vehicle. Right, I'll give you a still of that, and in a second we'll have a look at the sprues. Okay, let's have a look at the sprues, and first we'll start off with the main body. So as you can see, running boards, this is your firewall, this is the firewall frame, okay, so this is your windscreen frame, doors which unfortunately cannot be opened, they're just one piece. This is the back of the car, this is your bottom of the car, the passenger compartment. These are your back mudguards. As you can see, that is your top of your bonnet, and these are the sides, front radiator grille, back of the vehicle. Okay, so it is a multi-part body, which means that everything gets framed around here, and hopefully it all comes out nice and straight. Although luckily this doesn't have a top to go on, so it should be fairly easy to put this together. Let's have a close-up look though. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. Hopefully you can. There is flow lines in the plastic. Alright, you can't feel them, but they are there. They shouldn't show up once the vehicle's painted. This is the back of the car, okay? This is the curve of the back. Not much detail on this. I can already see an issue right there and there. As you can tell, this is supposed to be straight. That's the top of the windscreen. But it is bent inwards, and that is caused by the sprue being put in to the packaging or whatever and not cooling down properly, something like that, because that's literally, as it's cooled down, it's caused tension on here and it's bent that. So that would mean a little bit tricky to get that off without destroying it, but it should be possible. But a little bit of work to get it into the right right angle, so to speak, to take the windscreen. It will be a challenge. Okay, as I said, this is basically just a front frame member. It goes between this part here, the windscreen, the firewall. This goes in the middle. Okay, nice detail on the running boards. Okay, really nice. Bonnet, unfortunately, is one piece, and the sides will fit on, so it will be a bit of work to get the engine seen. It's unfortunate that that's not a PE, because that would come out really well. Although it's a nice detail, a PE grill on that would be awesome. And some fairly basic plain detail, because most of this is covered up with accessories, etc., that and other fittings, so you won't see a lot of this. Alright, so that's the body. As I said, multi-part, sorry, not multi-port. The head, yes, it does have an issue, but that's not insurmountable. It's just another challenge, and that's why we do it. It's always a challenge building models, isn't it? Alright, so that's the main body. Let's have a look at. So what you have here is the engine. Is the engine parts. Okay, so you've got quite a complex engine. It does have intake manifold, exhaust manifold. These are your seats. Okay, instrument panel, chassis frames, top and bottom, plus your braces, etc., etc., for the frames themselves. Okay, plus a lot of little small handles, and I'll show you those. Let's start off with the engine. Okay, really nice detail on the engine. Okay, quite nice. Once this engine is together, it's a shame it will be a little bit difficult to actually display it, because it does have quite a lot of bits and pieces that go on the outside to make it a really comprehensive engine. So I do like that. I'll show you this. That is your, unfortunately, your fan for the front of the engine, and as you can see, that in itself will be a challenge to get off in one piece without destroying it, the way it's been molded. So some interesting challenges with this model. This is your canvas top folded up. Seats have cushion detail but no real texture. Okay, but still they'll paint up really nice. You can make them like they're smooth leather, which is probably what they would have been. This is your one of your back seats. Okay, so really nice detail. Some very small parts in here. Show you these little tiny pieces. Attachment point to the sprue is quite heavy, so again over here little handles, and notice the attachment point to the sprue is again quite heavy, so it will need some care getting those off without destroying them. Your instrument panel, which has decals, so you'll just have to paint up the surround. Alright, and again, so one of these handles has already broken, and that's another part of the cooling down process for the sprue, and also being thrown all together in the same bag. That's always going to result in damage to fragile things like that. So okay, so there's your seats in your engine. Love the engine, love the details. Seats, they can be quite easily weathered up. Just the attachment points for the little tiny bits and pieces, that's going to be a bit of a concern for the future. Alright, so that's the engine. Let's have a look at the rest of the running gear. Okay, so there's your tyres. This vehicle has 8 tyres, okay, 6 running tyres and 2 spares, plus hubs. These are your suspension parts, okay, chassis fittings, etc., exhaust pipe. So it is quite a complex and highly detailed engine and chassis. Alright, I really like that. It's a pity most of it you won't see. Okay, so let's have a close-up look. Alright, let's have a look at the tyres. Nice bolt detail. Tread, well, not much of a tread. Okay, you will have to clean up the mold line, of course. So that's a military tyre tread, not a civilian tyre tread, so yeah, that's not too bad. It'll show up quite well once she's painted. Nice bolt detail on the fittings for the diff, etc. Suspension, again, yep, some quite crisp detail on the leaf spring suspension. Right, so that's not bad. So I can't fault them on things like bolt details on some of the fittings and things, which you won't see because they're chassis members, fuel tanks, etc. Their attachment point for, unfortunately, as you can see, some of these fittings and handles, etc., are quite heavy, so that will take a bit of care to get off. Alright, especially something like that. But as I said, if you take your time, you do have some little tiny pieces here. Okay, and the carpet monster is definitely going to love those. Alright, but the wheels look good. As you can see, they are literally just an outer and an inner. That's all there is to them. Okay, so there's your wheels for this beastie. Okay, so what else have we got? There is literally only 5 sprues. Okay, so this particular one has your multi-part steering wheel, and as you can tell, there are a lot of molding pips on this which will need to be cleaned up. And as always with ICM, there isn't much of a connection point between that ring and that point there, so that will take a bit of care. These are your chassis support members and fittings for steering, etc. And as you can see, again, the connection to the sprues are quite heavy. There are your door handles. Okay, so not only is the connection heavy, but it will take a bit to clean up. So a lot of care required on a lot of these small parts. There is your Mercedes-Benz radiator cap, right? Do like that, it has been molded really well. And even the cross bracing on the chassis has some nice bolt detail. So the detail is nice. I can't have an issue with that. Only I wish ICM wouldn't have 2-part steering wheels. Everyone else has a 1-part, and some of their connection points to little bits and pieces could be a little bit finer. I have seen other kits that have just a small connection point and they get away with it, so maybe sometime in the future. Okay, so that is most of the car, apart from the important bit, the windscreen. So the windscreen is packed in a separate bag, placed inside the main bag. I guess that has protected it a little bit because it is quite clear, as you can see. Alright, headlights are nice and clear. Whoops, sorry guys. There you go, that's your headlights. Really nice and clear. So yes, the windows, I do love the windows on this, right? They are beautiful, nicely reflective. I think you would definitely want to have the side windows down on this, seeing as the canvas top is folded up, but that is entirely up to you. Okay, so that's the clears. So as I said, there is only 5 sprues to the entire vehicle. The only other sprue I have to show you is this one, which is your figures. Okay, so as you can see, you have 4 figures, 1 female and 3 male. Let me have a look. I'll bring them up close for you. Okay, let's have a look at her first. That's really nice detail on her uniform. Let's have a look at the face. And there you have it. Okay, so that is obviously a female face. Other manufacturers, other manufacturers have difficulty in doing female faces, but ICM, yep, they've done really well with this one. Okay, there is your driver figure, who is basically standing there opening the door for the officers, except the doors aren't open, so that's going to be a problem. But the detail on the uniform is really nice, especially belt buckles, etc. Let's have a look at one of the officers. There you go. So yes, the faces, cannot fault the faces. The uniforms, there you go. Badges, everything, belt buckles, really sharp detail. Okay, easily picked out with a bit of careful painting. Boots and everything, really nice. This is the General's aide. He's carrying a satchel. And yeah, so the faces, okay, ICM faces, much better than Mini Arts and a couple of the other ones I've seen out there. So really happy with this set, really happy. Okay, and that, guys, is it. So like I said, basically 5 sprues plus the figure kit, and that is your ICM G4 1939 production. So this kit can be modelled as a pre-war or a during the war vehicle in light grey and various other colours. Internet references will show you that they did in fact come in a couple other different colours, black of course. I believe there was even a blue one, if my memory serves me correct. Anyway, that's for you guys. That's definitely an internet search. Alright, I think this will be a really nice kit for the shelf or a diorama. I would love to set it in front of a building like that, okay, which looks a little bit like the Reich Chancellery or something like this. So maybe source out some backgrounds or something. Anyway, as usual, that brings us to the end of this one. Hope you got something from it. I know I did, so I can see my challenges ahead of me, and I don't think they're going to be a big drama. Alright, anyway guys, like I said, that's the end of this one. Hope you did get something from it, and as usual, until next time, take it easy, and I'll see you later.